downtown where you can get a date for 50, 60, 70, even 80% off the original social marketplace price.
Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem a New Woman. The devilish diva starts on the road to becoming a new creature in Christ in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem a New Woman at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. Coming to paperback and e-readers, Esteem a New Woman. The devilish diva starts on the road to becoming a new creature in Christ in this all-new Esteem series adventure. Get your copy of Esteem a New Woman at Amazon.com and other online booksellers. In a previous video, I talked about how I sent out 100,000 job applications and 75,000 resumes and still have not found a full-time job here in New York City. And some of my viewers wanted to suggest that I move out of New York City and hope to find better job opportunities in another part of the country. Now, what I want to ask those viewers is, how do I move to another place with no money? Now, when I make these YouTube videos, I barely make $300 a month, and that barely covers my basic expenses. So how am I going to afford to move to another part of the country when there are a whole host of expenses as related to moving to another area? Now, what many people don't understand is that if you want to move to another area in 2026, the world is completely different than it was in 1980. Now, in 1980, a person could go out here, have themselves a beater Volkswagen Beetle or some beater car, and they could go out here and move to another part of the country. And as they move to that other part of the country with just a high school diploma and possibly a reference from one of these retail jobs, they could go out here and secure another job at the area that they moved in as related to getting work. And after they got a job, they could go out here and possibly secure a place with under $1,000, because the rent for a place was basically $350 for a one-bedroom, and you could secure a one-bedroom apartment for first and last month's rent and a security deposit for just $1,000. So a person could basically move from one part of the country to another for just $1,000 in 1980, but it doesn't work like that in 2026. No, in 2026, it works like this. You already have to have your job lined up before you even think about moving to another area. You already have to have a job offer and a start date before you can even think about making plans to move to that other area. And usually, if you're a new transplant, what you have to do is you're going to have to stay with someone for at least a year as related to finding a place to stay. You're going to have to stay with someone for at least a year, because in order to get your own spot, what you have to do is be at that residence for a year before a landlord even thinks about considering you for renting their apartment. Now, in order to rent an apartment these days, it's way more than $1,000. No, when you want to rent an apartment in another part of this country, what you have to have in order to rent an apartment is you have to be, one, working at that place for a year minimum. And then on top of that, you got to go out here and pay the application fee. Then you've got to go out here and pay for the background check. And then on top of that, you've got to pay for the credit check. And then after that, what you've got to do is go out here and have, in some cases, a guarantor and be able to pay for the first and last month's rent and the security deposit. And that first, last month's rent and security deposit are basically $15,000 to $20,000. $15,000 to $20,000 just to get yourself a studio apartment. And that's what you have to, again, be able to move to another area after staying with someone for a year, again. And then on top of that, you've got to have yourself a car if you live in any place outside of New York City. And owning a car outside of New York City means that you also have to pay for maintenance. You have to pay for registration. You have to pay for insurance. Again, all of these expenses. And again, people are asking me to go and pay and have the money for all this, even though all I'm living on is $300 a month or so. And these people are sitting there saying, hey, move to another area. Well, how are you going to move to another area if you, one, don't have the money, and two, can't really go out here and get that job and be able to have that job lined up? Again, moving these days is much more difficult than it was in 1980. Again, in 1980, a person could get up and basically say, hey, I want to go to Chicago. I want to go to LA. I have my high school diploma or my college degree. And basically, there would be doors able to open for them. But for many of us people who came after the 80s, we came into a completely different world. We came into a completely different world where a lot of those people who were landlords and employers got burnt, and they started putting up all of these roadblocks and looked to move the goalpost. And they made it just that much harder for us to be able to get our lives started. And at this day in 2026, it becomes just that much harder. Again, I have been looking for these jobs for the last 18 years, and the problem is that people just won't hire me. They just won't hire me. And again, I can do the work, because if I can go out here and publish 80 books and get those books out every year on time, I could have been and done that for a company out here. But again, employers out here don't want to take a risk. And again, people want to sit there and say, hey, move to another area. But where are you going to move if you have no money? How are you going to move to another area? And what's to say I moved to another area and the job market there is just as garbage as the job market here is in New York City? And the whole thing is that you just can't move without a plan. No, you just can't move to another part of the country without a plan. I mean, those boomers could do that because the people were a lot more receptive to people back then. I mean, in the early 80s, basically people were more understanding. They understood people needed a start. So they understood, yeah, okay, this guy may not have the experience, but he has the high school education. He's basically worked a few places. Okay, we'll take a shot at him at this $300 a week job, and he could start at this job and again, could start with this one bedroom with $1,000 deposit that he saved up, and he could just get his life started. But these days, you asking people to go out here and move to another area where the salaries haven't really changed that much. And then you have these moving expenses that are going to be a couple $1,000s. Then you got to find the job to be able to move to that place. And then on top of that, if you finally get the apartment, you got to go out here and have thousands of dollars in order to get that apartment. Again, not as easy as people want to make it out like, and that's why many people are not going out on their own like they did in the 1980s. In the 1980s, it was a lot easier for people to go out on their own. But for many people in 2026, it's not that easy to go out on your own. And even when I had a job in 2008, I was making plans to go out on my own, but then everything just got derailed. And the whole thing is I possibly wouldn't have been able to go out like I wanted to because, again, you had to be working at a job for a year. And again, you have to work for that job for a year. I was only making $26,000 at that job. But the whole thing is that it wouldn't have covered those costs, again, of the first and last month's rent as related to New York City. And again, we're talking first, last month's rent, and again, $20,000. And on top of it, you have moving expenses. And on top of that, you would need to get a car. Again, these are all expenses that keep people from being able to move. And you just can't move without a plan. And again, if you don't have the job first, you can't move anywhere. Again, it's not like 1980 where, hey, I can go out here and maybe somebody will give me a shot. No, you got to have the job already before you move. In many cases, you have to have the job offer lined up before you move. And that's how it works these days. And a lot of, again, baby boomers and other people don't understand it. They don't understand how the world has changed or how they have changed the world by putting all these heavy burdens on people, and make it just that much harder for people to get their life started or to get things back on track. Because with the job market these days, it's a lot of start and stop. You'll think you have something started like I had in 2001. Thought I had something started with AmeriCorps Vista at Strive, and then you have to stop, and then you go to another job, and then it stops, and then you get another job, and then it stops, and then people are telling you that there's a problem here, but the problem is that their hiring process doesn't give people a chance to be able to show what you can do. And what's sad is that if you go out here and do it on your own, they still got issues. They still got issues with you because, again, I wrote over 80 books and showed how hard I work and how conscientious I work and how I can get work out on time. But that's not, unless you're working for a white man, it's not considered actual work. Same thing with volunteer work. It's not considered actual work by employers. Even if you go out here and, again, can show results, unless the results are shown to a white person, they don't really want to see it. And again, a lot of people want to think, oh, you can move to another place and everything will change. No, it's not going to change because, again, if you have employers like this here in New York, they're going to have the same mindset as employers in another area. And again, if I need to get the job first, how do I get the money to get the job? And again, you have expenses if you move. And this is where people can't really understand how things work. They don't understand in today's market. And I'm going to repeat this once more. You have to have the job first before you can move to another area. You have to have your money lined up before you can move to another area. You have to have your resources together before you move to another area. And many of the people who want me to move to another area, I have to ask the critical question, are you going to drop some money on the PayPal or the Cash App to help me move? Are you going to put the money on the table to help me move to another area if you want me to move so badly? Are you going to put your money where your mouth is? Because it's really hard out here. That's what many of the Gen Z kids and millennial kids know. It's really hard out here to get something going because it's not the same world as it was in 1980. And a lot of people don't understand this. They don't understand that, again, I'll repeat it for another time. If you don't have your job, you can't move to another place, and you need to have that job for a year to get a place. Again, in order to do things, you need to have that money going to flow. And if you don't have the money to flow, then nobody's going to want you in their area at all. So a lot of people, again, don't know how this works, don't know how it works out here as related to 2026, and they're still stuck in 1980, thinking the world is easy like that, but it's not as easy as that. Again, you have to have your job, you have to have a car, you have to have maintenance on the car, you have expenses on the car, and if you don't have all those ducks lined up in a row, you can't move to another place, because moving to another place means you have to have money to move. And if you don't have money to move, where are you going to go? That's what many people don't understand. If you don't have money to go, you got to stay in the same area trying to figure out a way to get the money. or to get another job, you got to figure out how you're going to get another job. And that's what people get it all messed up. Again, they don't understand the process that goes in as related to trying to find another job or trying to move to another job. And they don't understand that whole process as related to things. And when you've been through long-term unemployment, you understand that process. And if you understand that process, when you see, again, a person who's struggling, you're going to look to try to help them get another job, because you understand in today's market, if you have to have the job first before you can do anything else in today's American economy. Now, to these people who want to say, hey, you should move, again, you can drop a donation to the PayPal or the Cash App to help me do that if you want. Or if you want to help me to look for more work, you can go out here and again drop to the PayPal or the Cash App to help me stay on the air. Now, if you can also go out here and help out by picking up some of the books on the SJS Direct Imprint. You can find those books on Amazon.com in paperback and Kindle format. You can also find them at Draft to Digital, Google Play, Barnes & Noble, and big box retailers like Walmart and Target. And that's all I have to say for this video. You can comment, rate, and subscribe.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse. The man who rules the world gets a job offer he can't refuse in this action-packed all-new John Haynes series adventure. Get your copy of John Haynes, An Offer He Can't Refuse at Amazon.com and other online booksellers.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, ISIS, Runway of Doom. The goddess next door struts her stuff on the catwalk to take on a runway of rogues in this action-packed all-new ISIS series adventure. Get your copy of ISIS, Runway of Doom at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere.
Now available in paperback and e-readers, Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer. Take a trip into the macabre world of goth modeling in the new millennium in this spooktacular Spinsterella story. Pick up your copy of Spinsterella Goth Girl Summer in paperback and e-readers at Amazon.com and online booksellers everywhere.
Support Black-owned and Black-operated digital broadcast media. www.niceradionetwork.com. Nice Radio Network, broadcasting 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.